And we're taking a look at critical sectors of the economy and beyond, and posing the question to all of you: what questions do you have for the President of the Republic, as he's set to have an encounter with the media this evening at 8 p.m. Joining us on the program right about now, Mr. Darrell Bosu, Deputy National Director, Arocha, Ghana. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Hope you're doing well.
Very well.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. We've opened up the conversation and we are taking a look at the last 9 months of the John Dramani Mahama government, and also looking forward to his press encounter this evening, and looking at the sorts of questions that we hope will be posed to the president and what we're expecting to hear. Just to kickstart the conversation, what is your assessment of the last 9 months, especially in your field of expertise?
Thank you very much. I must say that we had a lot of expectations when it comes to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama taking office as president of this country. I say this because he made several commitments proud to being elected during the election, even before, and all of that. And a lot of these promises, we saw him dragging his feet in terms of implementation of all of them. I start with the state of our forest reserves and the law LI 2462. How the government, before taking office, they promised to repeal. But coming into office, they said they went ahead to amend. Now they are saying they are going to commit to a revocation. I think for me, until that process is concluded, we still think that the government has not kept faith with the people. And for that, there's no reason why we should really pursue sustainable forest management if we are going to keep this law still in our books. And then secondly, I think we had a lot of expectations regarding the president's commitment to dealing with galamsey. There have been several positive pronouncements. I must give that to the government. But right. I think that when it comes to the implementation, we talked about controlling excavators. They said, okay, even before you import excavators, you have to get permission, and we're also going to track excavators and all of that. It's been 9 months. The system has already been sitting idle for more than 2 years. It's just about getting to it and making sure that we roll it out. It's still in the pipeline. I don't see what's keeping it. And we have also seen illegal mining and irresponsible mining escalate. The government is doing some work on addressing with some, I would say, tax falls here and there and all of that. But the problem still abounds. And the problem is still really all over the place, prevalent, and still destroying forest reserves. And I think that in respect of that, there has been too much feet dragging. We keep saying the solution is at hand, but we do not see the actions to really ensure that we realize these solutions. So I think that the president or all of us, an explanation why there's been a lot of feet dragging with these actions of galamsey. I think the impunity has not. And for now, it's even more grave to the extent that you see people boldly challenging law enforcement officers who are out there trying to enforce the law. Forestry officers are suffering. We see police also suffering. We've had several instances. And then there has been recent development where attempts to take over certain established mining concessions, leases, and all of that. I think the development around the Sanko area, we need to really deal with it. All of these are really problematic that we shouldn't really see this panning out with a government that has committed to really addressing these issues. I don't think that we can now say that we still need time. We've gone past that. The government doesn't need any more time. This government knew our problem before they came to power, so we really expect them to take charge of the issues and deal with it. And again, also, I'm really sad to hear about the decision by the Ghana Water Company to increase tariffs because of the galamsey issue. And this is how bad the galamsey issue is and how much it is affecting our pocket. Every citizen is eventually going to be affected. Now, I do not understand why, as a country, we sit down for one particular sector to displace agriculture, to displace forestry, to displace our water resources, and even the provision that we get for our homes and also for industrial purposes. I think there is a problem with this whole governance issue with the way we are managing our natural resources, prioritizing gold over everything else. And I think the government made some promises to fix our water, to restore our lands, and to fix our rivers. This is time to show that they are really serious about it. So far, it's just been a lot of feet dragging, a lot of words, but no action. And that, for me, we need the president really to do something about.
Well said, Darrell. So if you were to then rate the efforts, especially as far as climate change, talking about Galamsey, all our environmental issues are concerned, out of 10, what would be your rating?
I think that, somewhere much or so, I rated the government 3.
Oh, I see.
On this, I also maintain that. There's still a lot to do.
Still a lot to do. How then would you say that this government, the John Dramani Mahama government, can foster stronger collaborations between government agencies, NGOs like Arocha Ghana, and local communities for environmental protection? Because even the turbidity levels, they're not getting any better. The people of Ghana were very concerned.
I think when it comes to collaboration, there seems to be already some goodwill. Institutions are ready to work with the government and all of that. But I think the political, I would say, patronage in the system is stifling this effort. And this is where we need to address. There are real people in the system with technical capacity and ability and commitment to support government in doing things like several years, as I've mentioned. But we need to really get rid of the political patronage with political people taking over state institutions, determining the direction of progress and all of that, and which is not enabling some of these state institutions like the Forestry Commission and several other state institutions to really do their work effectively. I think until we get the politicians to stay out of these technical institutions and allow them to work as mandated by the Constitution, that is when we're really going to see a result. And this is why I think that the government really needs to do whatever it is. I know there is pressure to give jobs to boys and people of the society and all of that, but I think we need to prioritize the interests of the state over these political interests.
So this evening, if you were to be amongst the media personnel speaking with the president, you've got a microphone, what is that one burning question or maybe 2 burning questions that you would pose directly to Mr. President?
Well, I think the first one is all the promises he made on Galamsey. He himself should rate himself, and to what extent he thinks that Ghanaians should still believe that he's really committed. I think we have lost hope, so he should tell us whether there's really hope when it comes to doing Galamsey. And then secondly, also, he promised to ensure that we all have access to good water and all of that. The problem with our state institutions like the Forestry Commission, like the Water Company, and even the MOFA struggling with agricultural sector, all because of the displacement of Galamsey. The government should tell us how, as a country, we are going to remain sustainable if all else is displaced just because of gold mining.
Certainly. And finally, when we talk about climate change, are there any policy directions that you are gleaning from this particular government that gives you some hope that we're actually going to get ahead of the issue as far as climate change is concerned? It's a real concern also for many Ghanaians.
You see, there is a lot of discussions going on climate. Several institutions like the Ministry of Environment, EPA already, we are going through national determined contributions, reviews, and all of that. It's all good. But at the end of the day, there's a strong connection between our ability to build climate resilience, adapt to climate, and also mitigate climate with our ability to control the current spate of redestructing our lands and also our forest reserve. I see a strong connection between the things we are talking about in the climate space and the way we are treating our land, particularly regards to mining. So for me, if we really want to contribute to climate mitigation and adaptation, we need to start with solving the Galamsey menace. It's a strong driver of deforestation, strong driver of building or really making sure that communities are not able to build resilience. And it's also a strong driver of water depletion. All of these are very important to help communities to build resilience and to secure forest reserves to build to ensure that we can achieve climate mitigation. But if you are not going to deal with all of these, all the discussion we are having about climate, we should just, forget it. Maybe we can make inroads in the transport sector, which is more about transport sector and emissions and all of that. But when it comes to the land and land use sector, agriculture, which is also a very important sector of contributing to addressing climate change, we'll really be found wanting. And that is why I think that if we should just tackle this issue of galamsey, and everything else will fall into place.
And everything else will certainly fall into place. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and also
thank you so much
giving us your views. Daro Bosu, Deputy National Director, Arocha Ghana. Let's talk about another very important factor, one that many of you will also be eagerly listening to the President about. Julius Jima is Executive Julius Jima is Executive Director, Center for Economic and Financial Analyst. He's also an urban economist, and he joins us on the program. Julius, hello, good morning.
Good morning, Helen.
Hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for joining us on the program. We're looking forward to hearing from Mr. President this evening at 8 p.m. He's got an encounter with the press. I'll start off by asking this question. How do you, from a financial and economic perspective, rate the efforts of the John Dramani Mahama government so far?
Good morning, Helen, once again to your cherished listeners. I think that so far it's been fairly good. Things are difficult here with the only exception of job creation. So I think that if we continue like this, then the government will be able to bring in jobs to support the growing, achievements and the successes and fiscal consolidation, managing the macroeconomics. I believe that everything will be fine. But so far, so good. We can make reference to inflation, which is doing well. We can also make another reference to exchange rate, which recently, since last week, we saw that the city was just moving up a little. The dollar was rather going up a little bit, but so far from the beginning of the year till now, it's been fine. Our gross international reserve, which gives us our act as buffer for the country, about $11.1 billion. It's encouraging. And then I believe that the financial prudence and then discipline in the system so far is also good. So in all, the financial health or the economic health of the country is fine. It's just fine. We are doing just fine. We just pray that the president will be able to give us strategies as to how all this will culminate into job creation so that we know that we are getting there.
Absolutely. Now, in which areas then do you think the Mahama government has faced significant challenges or has fallen short economically?
I think that, let me just come back to the fiscal side, which is growing revenue in terms of revenue generation. We've been getting support from the IMF. Good Board also came in with our exports, exporting good and giving us some money. But it looks like a little, attention has been given to our taxes and our tax revenue, which should be something that probably the finance minister and then the government of President Mahama should really look at how we can harness more tax revenue so that we'll be self-sufficient. We've been talking about this, that, we want to be self-reliable. We want to build an independent, financial country where we don't rely too much on external support or donor funding. When that happens, it means that you have to cut down certain programs and policies that, you have to do. But if our domestic revenue mobilization is on the higher side, and then also our state institutions are also doing well by bringing or reporting profit, it means that the overall financial health of the country or for the government is good. So I think that would be the side that I can say that it's really down. But apart from that, in terms of the overall finances, everything is good.
Certainly, and you make mention of job creation. The 24-hour economy was touted as that one policy that was going to be a game changer as far as job creation is concerned. The word on the street, however, is that people don't seem to, or the average Ghanaian hasn't seemed to have grasped how this is actually going to put money in our pockets and also create jobs. From where you sit with your expert lenses, is this a policy that has officially taken off? And if not, what are the setbacks that you see?
Well, I think that the 24-hour economic policy, recently there was a launch for the whole program's strategy and then the outlook, how it's going to be like. Coming back a little to the time of the campaign promises and then the elections, various definitions were given to the 24-hour economy. But fast forward to now, we know what it wants to do. And I believe that the import or the importance of the 24-hour economy is to create jobs, is to, foster trade, and then also grow businesses in the country. There was an argument or debate that this whole 24-hour economy is dependent on something, basically demand and supply, and how effectively and efficiently we can run an economy where we will not go back to sleep. So the idea is fantastic. The decision is also great. But the implementation for now, it looks like it's lagging behind. And I don't know why it's lagging behind, but maybe leaders or, the authorities are putting in place the framework, the staff framework, and then getting down the policies to be able to make sure that once they kickstart, it will not fall short in certain areas. But yes, once we're able to tackle certain sectors of our economy, I believe that the government was talking about tourism, for instance, has a tendency of bringing in more revenue to us, and also trying to have that 24-hour economy in that regard because it's easy to implement. We were talking about most of the pubs, the restaurants. For instance, we go to our Oxford Street, about most of the certain pubs and restaurants are running 24-hour economy. Our pharmaceutical industries are also doing 24-hour. What government now was trying to support is trying to create or bring in some infrastructure, support with electricity, support with security, and then trying to move businesses upstream onto the 24-hour economy that if you subscribe, these are the incentives that will render for you in order for you to run around the clock. But I believe that in itself will not be able to contribute to the job creation that, as Ghanaians, we are aware or we know. And I believe that most of the models or the thematic areas that the launch brought us to be able to open up a little further. And then let's see if government will be able to enter into public-private partnerships so that we can have the jobs running. I know government cannot do everything. Government needs the participation of the private sector. Investment should be also go into certain areas where the businesses will take opportunity thereof. But it shouldn't be a wholesale policy where at the end of the day, we will not be able to see the overall station and the maturity of the policy. But there are certain areas like the healthcare, the hospitals, I made mention of the pharmaceutical areas. Transport, for instance, is already running 24 hours with the private ones. In the case that government wants to support with public transport and the hailing, transport systems to also compete with the private ones that we have in the country. When government do that, it means that government is adding on to the jobs because maybe Ministry of Transport will not have to buy in. And then I think recently I saw a certain program that government is trying to give, taxis or like these small cars for individuals to run. So all those things will be able to create that jobs that the youth are looking at least be able to put food on the table for most of our youth. But the formal jobs are most of the things that the youth are advocating for. Aside the informal ones, those ones that can easily be tapped into. We are also looking at the formal jobs. How will government be able to use the 24-hour economy to create a formal job? Because people still want to work in the government sector. People want to work in the private sector. The era of 85, are we going to see that change? That people still will go to work in the evening, or probably people will do the afternoon shift and the morning shift. These are things that Ghanaians want to experience. We've never experienced that before, especially in the public sector. Most of our state enterprises and state institutions, about 90% do 8 to 5 jobs, or in terms of the time work. Is there a case that they can alter it a little bit? Aside that, the infrastructure government has talked about making accessible electricity, providing security, and then also come into the transport space where people will be able to commute. But if you want people to work in the evening or even at dawn, it means that there should be a proper busing system, really guarded by our security men, so that people can go in the evening or at dawn to do their shifts and come back home. So these are things that really, like they used to say, they are low-hanging fruit that the 24-hour economy can really employ. But overall, we believe that there's a good policy once it is really targeted well, and then with the partnerships and the support from the private sector, at least government will be able to bring in new jobs. The emphasis on new jobs, because we want to have a report for new job creation, so that if the Ministry of Work or Labor is reporting, or maybe the Ministry of Employment is reporting, we can really pinpoint to that this policy has contributed to maybe X, quantity of jobs. When you are speaking with those facts, I mean, it's very tangible, and people will appreciate, what is happening. Let's also not forget that in terms of agriculture, the popular policy is poultry, which is in Kitchen. That is also coming upstream here. And then I just read in the news, the Ministry of Agri, or the Minister of Agri, is saying that by next month, which is October, they are also going to start that policy. We hope that that policy in itself is also going to create more businesses, more entrepreneurs, and provide sustainable jobs, means of livelihood to our youth. It also should be targeted. It shouldn't be the case that we go back to the same, persons in the industry and then try to, yes, they will need that support. But this time around, we want to see that government will pick an individual, a youth, or a group of persons that they will give them the support. They will give them business ideas, have infrastructure set down for them, and then they will have the know-how to be able to take care of these day-old chicks. They grow them to maturity. Christmas is around the corner. In the next 2-3 months, they will be ripe for the market. And then sales will be done by Christmas. They start making money. So it should be something that should be targeted. And then we want to measure from end to end the investments made and the benefits that the country will also get. Because all these things should contribute to tax, mobilization, tax revenue. That should be the idea. If businesses are coming out, should be making more money in the country, it will come back to the government by way of paying taxes back. And that is where the government can make money to support or to sustain some of these policies, because usually we have issues with sustainability. The ideas are good. We want to have it run for the term, maybe the 4-year term for President Mahama, and then overall we can have, reporting and then making sure that everything or every city invested is really accounted for. And the government has in turn benefited into, putting or bringing down some of these policies. So those are the areas that we are really focusing and really looking at.
And Julius, finally, before I let you go in about a minute or so, based on current trends, how optimistic are you about Ghana's economic outlook under the John Dramani Mahama administration going forward?
Well, we want to encourage the president and the finance minister that we know their job is not easy. It's very technical areas that the minister of finance has to really go through, investment here and there, attention to detail, meetings and engagement, taking decisions that will be in the interest of the country and the interest of Ghanaians. So we will have to encourage President, encourage the Minister of Finance that anytime they are engaging, they are around the table. Recently the President traveled, and I believe that it's the interest of the country to go and seek investment back into the country. So all these things, our leaders should put the ordinary Ghanaian always at the back of their mind that is why they are there prepared. When that happens, the economic decisions, the financial decisions will also flow. So far, there has been some, successes that we can easily point to, but the bigger, achievements is ahead of us. Now we are looking at a current city where it is moving out to. Are we going to get a sustainability so that the exchange rate will not go too high? We want to have that true reflection, the true and fair view of our performance of the city, just as the president said. IMF has warned or cautioned BOG to limit the intervention. What are the measures that the government will take so that we can have that constant supply of forex to meet local demand and import? We want to have or want to see more of import substitution so that we can even limit the pressure that goes on the dollar and mean that we need to industrialize. We know that most of areas of our economy, it is the industry that is going to solve the problem for us. So with the 24-hour economic policy, we believe it's the same industrialization idea. And then once it is able to come up upstream and then our leaders continue to stay focused, disciplined, and then being financially prudent, we believe that the fortunes of our economy will change. Like we always say in economic development, we want to grow our income. We want to close the gap between inequity and inequality. We want to limit poverty in the country. We want to have a decent homes where we can put our heads. We want to have, access to decent accommodation. When we go to hospitals, we are being taken care of. And then we can feed ourselves because as human beings, we need to eat. So we can eat some good food, get some good nutrition. We look decent and nice anytime we go. And then we go about doing our work, come back home, and then there's security for us. So these are the measures and the parameters that we want to have as a country. So the president should continue to stay head high, head up, and then likely for the finance minister because he's managing the finances and the economy for us. The shocks will come here and there. I mean, no government would have to have been the entire lifespan of every government wouldn't have a shock. But once they're able to put in the reserves and then keep saving for the country, when the shocks come or in situations where we become vulnerable economically, all the planning, the financial planning they have done should be able to stem the tide for us so everything comes to normal. So they should always have those things in at the back of their mind that at any given time, anything can happen to the global economy and it will affect the local economy. So once they are planning, they take care of savings for us. And once we're able to do this, stay disciplined, I believe we'll get there and then the overall economic outlook and then the financial performance as well for the country will also go on just as we want to. But my last point will be on accountability for the state-owned enterprises.
Right.
Key performance measures and to some extent balanced scorecards in those state-owned enterprises. It will look like most state enterprises, once they go there, it's all about going to manage costs. It is not only about the management of costs. Most of our state enterprises should be taxed to be making profits for government because that is why they were created for. If we want to increase our fiscal, then it means that our state-owned enterprises should be able to make money and not always be making losses where they come back to Ministry of Finance again for additional funding. So we tax our CEOs, our MDs of all state enterprises that they also have a tax to keep for us by making sure that they manage costs, they manage their budget, and then they will not engage in any extra expenditure that will put them into making losses. Rather, we want to encourage them that they manage the finances of the companies well for the president, and then in the end, once they report profit, the better for us because we'll be getting more money, and then we will not go back to IMF. Because by next year, IMF, we are done, and what will be the way forward for us.
Absolutely.
So the state-owned enterprises have key responsibility to make sure that the government of President Mahama should also do fully and if our state-owned enterprises will be making the profits for us, and then the president will pick it up and develop the country for us.
Julius, always grateful for your expert opinion on these matters. Julius Jima is the Executive Director, Center for Economic and Financial Analysis. Now, from matters concerning the climate, concerning economic and fiscal challenges, we go on to issues concerning security. And I've got on the phone lines Dr. Victor Doke, peace and security expert. Doc, hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hope you're also doing well.
I'm fine.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Looking forward to your views this morning. And let's kickstart the conversation off this way. How do you assess the current government's performance on maintaining peace and security in Ghana?
Well, thank you very much. In assessment with regards to peace and security, now there are a lot of factors that play. There are a lot of indicators that you need to look at. Okay, generally, if we are supposed to do an analysis regarding global security, there are a lot of ills that we need to address. General security. Look at the issue about balance state. Balance state has been now engaged physically, negotiations with the arms, with our security forces, the laws, that's with injustice, the petty crimes, and all of that, election violence, and all those things will have to come in for us to, assess and then generally make a conclusion that we need to work hard at it. We are not doing that bad, but we need to work hard in terms of all these, and some that have not been mentioned generally. So, say you want to do a score or a percentage, you will be doing not really well, but it doesn't mean we are not good. Yeah, we are doing something very good, but we need to build that. There's room for improvement. That's what I'm saying.
All right. You say we're doing something good, but there's room for improvement. On that note, then, what are some notable successes or improvements in national security under the Mahama administration that you can potentially point to?
Yeah. We have conflicts. We can talk about conflict, the non-conflict conflict. We have slavery. All these things that they disrupt the security of the country. Now, when you have these internal conflicts and you don't seem to have any solutions to it, it's a cause for worry. It's draining the economy, the funds, the personnel who are also going at their mental health. It affects them that they are not able to perform as they should. All these things will have to be dealt with. Other than that, you would have consequences. I'm talking about threats such as violent extremism, radicalization, and all of that. How are we dealing with it? So these conflicts are conduits, okay, for these armed elements to now take advantage of. So holistically, there is more that we need to do. Now, when you take the issue about the demise of the defense minister, we need to look at how quickly we can appoint, the president can appoint a substantive defense minister, because defense is a very sensitive area. We need to, as soon as possible, fill in that gap of continuity. Okay? So if it is substantive force and you still I think you should just agree with pronounce or appoint as soon as possible for continuity and then to enable interagency collaboration. The January conflict, we had the Minister Committee, which I started this book with the 7th day and the finalized report. We need to inculcate or replicate this kind of committee. Another committee should be set up and look at the particular conflict. Okay? And what committee should be set with regards to the conflict for the implementation of the recommendations or the issues in the report that will come out. So that simultaneously, by the time you say technical period is over, with regards to the main two conflicts, then you and there is a financial. You have a lot of solutions that you implement. So you don't need to wait the one mediation team process before you now persuade people who have experts, different people who understand the dynamics with regards to the conflict, the last conflict, and whatnot. So these are some of the issues that we need to look at. Now, internally, we look at how the issue about Galapé is going. How do we facilitate that these guys who we are asking to be the forest have open employment? And we have a high rate of unemployment in the country. something to be said about that. With regards to any program, social intervention. There are already interventions in the system, YA, government doing whatever they are supposed to do. But when you say can be done, for these guys who are even the boys who have arms, so they do not use the arms in robbery and highway robbery places and whatnot. So we need to use that all these things. The general security with regards to the Boko conflict, I expect the president to mention, to touch on a bit of what has happened, not go into details because I know they won't, but just give a synopsis of what the state of affairs is, so we can understand what is going to happen. How do we get the illicit arms that area out? What program, what comprehensive program is going to be done? This agency, Small Arms Commission, what comprehensive program is going to be implemented to get these the whole area and elsewhere, so that when you have processes in that area, you can now implement areas such as the house and whatnot. Sensitization and education. We have some asylum seekers coming in from Burkina. How are we ensuring that their welfare, humanitarian assistance, the screening, so that armed elements do not infiltrate our border security? You know how over some of our borders are. How are we ensuring that we have the equipment, we have the tools for the men, the capacity building for the men to now be very much prepared and take any kind of illicit deals or activities, weapons that are coming into the system. So we need, that's why I said, we are doing something, but there is more room for improvement.
Certainly, Doc. Now, the issue of civil-military cooperation has come up quite a bit. I'm sure you recall it might have been a couple of weeks ago, maybe a few months ago, where we saw the military live on air actually assaulting a member of the public who was granting an interview to a journalist. And I believe the journalist was also on the receiving end of some sort of assault. Is that something that you think should be high up on the agenda, that the president should be addressing, how we are able to cooperate with the military as civilians for peaceful, or at least for peace to prevail?
Yes. I'm not expecting it as a major issue, but for him, though, but it is for us. CSO is looking at how we can improve civil-military relations. Now, you can bet that the president will slightly mention something of that sort, but if not, then that is one area that they need to look at. So, in mentioning it, what then can be done? We are looking at solutions, how we can improve our relationship with the military or the security sector in general. So I am looking at how they would bring up solutions, programs for our men in uniform to, either take in, roll out, and it all ties to the mental health issue, the welfare, well-being of these men in uniform, because then you don't expect someone who is stressed out to respond appropriately in some areas as you expect. It's a cause for concern. How do we, as a citizen, also understand that the men in uniform have a mandate to protect? And how do we relate to them, relay information, give back as informants of whatever role that we will play? And then it ties to one major thing that I expect him to mention, the community policing mechanism. Now, if we have a robust community policing mechanism, trust me, in every community, which is very robust, you would have information flow. You have very verified informants who are giving you information as and when anything happens. So that if, for example, with regards to the killing in Ashanti region, with regards to the Kusafi chief who was killed in there, within seconds, you would have informants giving you information on who, where, how, for you to pick it up. And this generally he has to mention. If not, then they need to look at it. We need to look at how we can also resolve the issue about election-related conflicts and how deal once and for all with this party, groups or young boys. We call them those signs, the vigilantes. That's the name they give to
what
them.
we call the macho men.
Exactly. How do we deal with this once and for all? We tackle this party security. Do we need a program? Do we need an approach? Okay, that the state itself is going to recognize that A and B are what? Party security in quotes. Do you understand? So that if you know that those who are in the database or something, anything untoward, we arrest them. But as it is now, anybody can form a group and say they are party security or whatnot because they don't trust the state security. It's getting out of hand. We need to look at all these things, and I think holistically you should be able to mention it. Disaster-related, management, emergency preparedness. We had the issue about the Akusumbo Dam, the spillage and whatnot. So going forward, what needs to be done? Okay, the report that has come out, implementation, and all of that. So we need to look at our emergency preparedness mechanisms also, and then holistically find ways to. We have a lot of policies, we have a lot of laws. Which ones do we need to reform relating to security, the personnel, and all of that? So when we do the analysis, when you come to a conclusion that, well, you need to recruit more men, how do we do that? Devoid of partisan relations or partisan intakes. So you don't become the talk of town, or people don't levy allegations against you and whatnot. All these things have to be looked at in general.
Certainly. And Doc, my final question overall, how optimistic are you about Ghana's peace and security outlook under this current administration going forward?
Well, if this current administration is going to succeed, we need a little bit more assertiveness on their part in relation to security. Why do I say so? Misinformation and disinformation seems to be thriving. And it's not only under this current administration. In the former administration, we saw that, which is causing much harm. Political elites, personalities who are supposed to know better, make statements on air, the media houses. And unfortunately, these media houses who have been set up by the political elites themselves for the agenda of their parties and personal interests is something we need to holistically look at. Okay? Now, if we are able to curb this issue about misinformation, people will learn from it. The law will need to be just applied. Okay? When you apply the law, it serves as a deterrent for anyone who wants to commit a crime or who even has the intent. What will happen is every issue with regards to who has been arrested, who is under investigation, we need speedy process with regards to justice. So whoever is found culpable, the law will take its course and the person will be made to face the law. We don't need that aspect of political timelines, okay, where politicians would want to wait till a certain time before they speed up processes with regards to justice system to score political points. No. The accounts have an adage, they say, if you're not. Whatever they need to do now, prosecution with regards to whoever has been suspected to have embezzled state funds, they should speed up the process. Prosecute the person. Let the law take its course. It sends a strong signal for we the people that accountability is being taken seriously. Transparency within the security sector is being taken seriously. Now, if this is not done, then people begin to have question marks. Is it just rhetoric we are seeing again, which you've seen in the past, that would enable or accounted to the previous regime losing faith in Ghanaians? It may happen to them if they are not assertive with regards to all these things that have been mentioned and many others that have not been mentioned.
Certainly, Doc. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure speaking with you on the morning show.
Thank you very much.
Again, that was Dr. Victor Doke, peace and security expert. Let's also now speak with Mr. Stephen Osei Achang. He's a political and comms expert. Hello, good morning to you, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Hope you're doing well.
By God's grace, I'm doing very well. I hope you are good too.
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. We're looking forward to the president's press encounter this evening, and I'll kickstart the conversation with you this way. How would you rate the Mahama government's overall political performance and communication strategy so far?
Right, thank you so much for this opportunity to run a very good moment.
Apologies, Stephen. We're having some trouble hearing you.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, please,
okay.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, I was saying a very good morning to you and our listeners, and a good morning to my Vice Chancellor, Professor Stephen Jobson. Yes, rating the current administration, which is headed by, I would say, so far so good. Now, looking at the issue of the air community, yes, you always communicate certain things. I would say that they are on course until any other thing on the other issues come in. That is when we'll be able to actually analyze it very well and then give food.
Apologies, Mr. Say, we'll have to reconnect. We hear you clearly for about 20 seconds, and then we lose you for about 10 seconds. I'm not entirely sure what the problem is, but we'll try and reconnect with you. So please hold that thought, and I'll disconnect, and then we'll reconnect, please. We're very eager to hear your thoughts on this particular upcoming engagement. So let's try and reconnect. Again, we were just there speaking with Stephen Osei Achew. He is a political and communications expert. A bit of technical issues this morning. But let's pause now for a very quick break. When we come back, we continue on with these conversations. We're looking forward to that press encounter from the president. He's meeting the press this evening at 8 p.m. I know many of you have some burning questions. Do head over to our social media pages and also engage with us. What are the burning questions you have for Mr. President this evening?
Are you ready?
Something big is happening in Accra. It's 3FM Afro Connect, a grand celebration of African unity, culture, and creativity in Ghana.
This September, Africa will unite to celebrate the beauty and cultural diversity of the continent right here in Accra, Ghana. The whole continent is gathering in one place at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park on Nkrumah Holiday, the 22nd of September 2025 from 9 a.m. Experience the rhythms, the art, the fashion,
and the unforgettable spirit of unity. Exhibitions, food and vendor markets, and of course the legendary 3FM Jollof Wars. This year, AfroConnect gets even bigger and better with the Osajafo Night Concert. Buy your tickets on *725 *2226#. That's *725 *2226# for 100 Ghana cedis. To be a vendor for this Pan-African celebration, call us on 0531 100 927 and 0532 200 927 to book your space.
Don't forget, it's happening at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, Accra, on the 22nd of September from 9 a.m.
Proudly sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
3FM 92.7. Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
All right, and we are back. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. We've reconnected now with Stephen Osei Achew, political and comms expert, and we'll carry on with the conversation. Again, Sam, you're welcome back onto the program. I'll let you take off from where we had ended with you. You were giving us your overview on this current administration's comms strategy so far.
Yes, right. Thank you so much. So I was saying that, to the best of my knowledge, I think so far it has not been that bad. They've done their best. Well, we may need another forum to actually analyze their entire communications from 7th of January till this time. But at the moment, as I speak, I think that they've been able to.
Certainly. And what would you say then have been the strengths that you have observed in the administration's engagement with the public and the media? We've seen several government actors hold press conferences and engage in Q&As. What do you think so far of some of these encounters?
Well, so what the people need is given information. So if you look at a place like YEA, where Honorable Babson Tali is heading, and I think George Tam Jata, where he is now, you realize that the people need information. The people want to see those in the high positions actually doing their bidding, which is DSTV. If you look at the way the minister has gone around the handling this,
92.7,
the last
Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Sincere apologies. I suspect maybe we are having a fault. We'll try this again in an attempt to reconnect. The phone lines not being too favorable to us or for us this morning. Time check. It is some 18 minutes past the hour of 9. This is still 3 FM Sunrise on 3 FM 92.7. Still the best breakfast show in all of the land. Let's go for another quick break. When we come back, we'll talk some more. Don't go too far.